Does everybody know how we define luxury? Does
What is it
everybody?
defined? Yeah, define it by, I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. And then ultra luxury kind of, because
yeah.
you mentioned that just a
This
second
is
ago too.
this is really important because it will help you develop your strategy as well as understand the market data. So luxury real estate in general is the top 10% of the price point in your market.
Okay.
So every market has a luxury segment, and
Hmm.
it's that top 10%. So if there's a bell curve of inventory, it's this one at the very end, the top 10% of price point. Okay.
Okay.
That's considered luxury in your market. Now there's four subsets of luxury that you have to be aware of. First one is entry level luxury. Second is mid-tier luxury. You have high-end luxury, and then you have ultra luxury. Very different price points. Like you have to understand the four segments. It's not just luxury in general, because in most markets, each of those subsets of luxury, completely different market dynamics. So for us, in Seattle and Bellevue, entry level price point starts at about $1.5 million, $1.6 million. I've got dirt that's in escrow right now for 3.8. So it just
Mm.
tells you like entry level luxury, like it's technically a luxury price point, but it's also just a regular house in like a regular neighborhood in a lot of these places, which is mostly W2, mid-level W2 earners, right? Mid-level luxury, step up for us is about, I would say 2 to 3.5 million is kind of our mid-tier luxury in our area. And you're going to see a lot of kind of like basic new constructions, like larger homes on smaller lots in regular neighborhoods. That's like no fancy, crazy finishes, just large new construction houses. That's typically our mid-level luxury. Those are high W2 earners. So tech and medical, tech and sales, like some combination of household income, probably W2 with some stock bonuses. Or it could be sales, somebody in sales, medical sales or something like that. That's who we're seeing buy those houses. They are highly affected by the tech layoffs, right? So that's different than somebody who's like, a pharmacist who's like in that lower level luxury versus, two tech incomes, which are affected by everything that's going on with Amazon and strikes and layoffs, right? Totally different market dynamics when it comes to buyer profiles. The high end luxury is like 3.5, 4 million to about 7.5, 8 million, and a lot of them are business owners. So these are people who are like actively running businesses, usually like very successful, like small to mid size, maybe verging on like up to like 35, 40 employees, right? That's who's buying that inventory. They have a successful business, but they're very different than a W2 earner, right? They can take swings in a different way. Their income is coming and being documented differently. They've got more sophisticated finances. You're gonna have to use a different lender, like totally different segment of the market. And then you have the ultra luxury, which starts at about 8 million to 35, 40 million. Like it's pretty big range. Um, that money is coming from all over, right? It could be anywhere. It's somebody who has had a successful exit, C-level executives that have ownership in companies. It could be uh, Bitcoin. Like we're seeing some crypto type stuff with buying these crazy houses. So again, totally different. The finances are different and the market is moving at a different rate. So between for example, going into Q4 of last year in our market, we could see the data, and I'm going deep dive here. Sorry, this is a really long answer to your
This is good.
question, but it is important when you're starting to get into this price point because you have to be able to break up how things
You
are
can't
moving.
just treat everybody as luxury. You gotta speak to them, everybody differently amongst the four segments. Yeah, I get
That's
it.
right.
Super important. Hmm.
Yep, super important. And you have to be able to go into like a listing appointment and be like, all right, hey, we're at this price point. Here's what the typical buyers are doing. Like our ultra luxury price point, Nobody's dropping price right now. Everybody's holding price. The agents are holding price and the sellers are holding price, and the days on market are going up. Now, if you go down to the mid tier and the upper level luxury, like the mid tier, actually dropped days on market and dropped price by about 10% from Q4 of last year to Q1 of this year. That's interesting. That's interesting. So the market is shifting price, but the demand is still there, right? In the mid tier. That's what that says. Basically, the buyers are saying, I'm only pulling the trigger if it's like perfect and if it's a better price than I could get a couple of months ago. They're making decisions to buy versus the ultra luxury. It's just staying on the market a little bit longer and they're just waiting for the right buyer. Like the motivation is totally different on the seller side, and the agents are acting differently than in the mid-tier space. So it's that level of like granule market data that you have to start thinking about in a different way.